Have you ever wondered why some people always have something meaningful to say, while others just talk without saying much? This question leads us to a profound observation made by the great philosopher Plato. He once said, "Wise men speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something." This quote isn't just a witty one-liner, but a deep exploration of the nature of wisdom and folly. What Plato is essentially saying is that wisdom isn't about how much you say, but about the substance of your words. Wise people speak when they have something meaningful to contribute. Their words are like precious gems, rare but valuable. They understand that every word they utter has the power to influence, to shape thoughts, and to spark change. On the other hand, Plato describes those who talk for the sake of talking as fools. These are individuals who fill the air with words, not because they have something valuable to share, but because they feel compelled to say something, anything. Their words often lack depth and substance, merely echoing the noise around them rather than contributing any meaningful insights. In today's digital world, where everyone has a platform to express their thoughts, this ancient wisdom is more relevant than ever. The internet is filled with noise, with people speaking just because they can, not necessarily because they have something worthwhile to say. It's easy to get swept up in this tide of words, to feel the pressure to join the cacophony, but Plato's wisdom encourages us to resist this temptation. It invites us to be more mindful in our communication, to speak with purpose and substance rather than just to fill the silence. It reminds us that wisdom isn't about being the loudest voice in the room, but about being the voice that adds value, the voice that others want to listen to. So before speaking, pause and ask yourself, am I speaking because I have something to say, or because I just have to say something? Isn't it fascinating how love can transform an ordinary person into a poet? Let's delve into this intriguing thought. At the touch of love, everyone becomes a poet. This is a profound statement by Plato, which encapsulates the extraordinary power of love, a force capable of awakening the deepest creative instincts within us. When we think about love, we often imagine it as an emotional experience, a feeling that warms our hearts and fills our minds with blissful thoughts. But Plato invites us to consider love in a different light, as a catalyst for creativity, a muse that inspires us to express ourselves in ways we never thought possible. Imagine being so moved by love that your feelings overflow, spilling out in the form of words and verses, painting vivid images that encapsulate your emotions. This is the transformative power of love that Plato speaks of. It's not just about feeling love, but also about expressing that love, sharing it with the world in the form of poetry. For isn't poetry the language of the heart? It's where our deepest feelings, our hopes and dreams, our fears and desires find expression. And love in its many forms is often at the heart of these expressions. Love for a partner, for family, for friends, for nature, for life itself. All these can awaken the poet within us, urging us to capture these feelings in words. But poetry isn't just about writing verses, it's about seeing the world through the lens of love, about appreciating the beauty around us, about finding joy in the simplest of things. It's about expressing our feelings in a way that touches others, that resonates with their own experiences of love. This is the essence of being a poet, of translating our emotions into words that others can connect with. So the next time you feel a surge of love, allow it to awaken the poet within you. Let your feelings flow. Let your words paint a picture of your emotions. And who knows, you might just discover a side of yourself you never knew existed. So remember, love doesn't just touch the heart, it also sparks the poet within. How do you define justice in your own terms? This is a question that has engaged thinkers since the dawn of civilization. And the Greek philosopher Plato offers an intriguing perspective. He proposed that justice means minding your own business and not meddling with other men's concerns. But what does this mean in the context of our modern world? Let's unpack this. Essentially, Plato is suggesting that justice is about respecting boundaries. It's about understanding where your sphere of influence ends and another's begins. It's about not imposing your will on others, not interfering in their lives unless invited or unless their actions harm others. This idea of justice is deeply interwoven with the concept of personal freedom and autonomy. Everyone has the right to live their life as they see fit, provided they do not infringe upon the rights of others. Respecting this right is a fundamental aspect of justice. But let's dig a little deeper. Plato's quote also implies that justice is about focusing on your own actions and responsibilities. Rather than wasting energy meddling in others' affairs, concentrate on improving yourself, on doing your part to make the world a better place. Now let's connect this to some current issues. Consider privacy invasion, a rampant problem in our digital age. Every day, individuals and organizations cross the line, snooping into others' private lives, often under the guise of marketing or security. This is a clear violation of Plato's idea of justice. It's meddling in others' affairs, it's disrespecting their boundaries, and it's infringing upon their right to privacy. And then there's cyberbullying, a form of meddling that can have devastating consequences. When individuals use the anonymity of the internet to harass and torment others, they are not only infringing upon their victims' rights, they are also shirking their own responsibilities. They are focusing on others' lives, rather than minding their own business, and contributing positively to society. In both these cases, we can see how justice, as defined by Plato, is violated. We can see how disrespecting boundaries and meddling in others' affairs not only harm individual victims, but also erode the fabric of our society. So perhaps it's time we revisited Plato's definition of justice. Perhaps it's time we started minding our own business a little more and meddling in others' affairs a little less. Not out of apathy, but out of respect for personal boundaries and individual freedoms. Not to isolate ourselves, but to foster a society where everyone can thrive without fear of intrusion or harassment. In a world where everyone's business seems to be everyone else's, perhaps justice begins with minding our own. After all, if we all focused a little more on our own actions and a little less on others, imagine how much fairer, how much more just our world could be. So I'll leave you with this thought. In a world where everyone's business seems to be everyone else's, perhaps justice begins with minding our own. What is it that you are truly afraid of? And what if that is not what you should fear? This question in many ways encapsulates one of the profound thoughts that Plato, often echoing the ideas of Socrates, put forth about courage. He said, courage is knowing what not to fear. Now let's unpack this. Fear is an instinctive response to a threat, real or perceived. It's a survival mechanism that we all have. But according to Plato, courage involves a deeper understanding of what's truly worth fearing. It's not just about facing your fears, it's about discerning the real threats from the imagined ones, the significant from the insignificant. In our modern context, we are often afraid of things that, in the grand scheme of things, are not worth our fear. Fear of failure, for instance, can hold us back from pursuing our dreams and aspirations. We are afraid of the disappointment, the embarrassment, the setback. But is that what we should really fear? Failure is an integral part of growth. It's through failure that we learn, improve, and become better versions of ourselves. A life devoid of failure is a life devoid of growth. So perhaps what we should fear is not failure, but stagnation, the lack of progress. Then there's the fear of rejection. We are social creatures, and the fear of being rejected, ostracized, can be paralyzing. But should we allow this fear to dictate our actions, to stop us from expressing our true selves, standing up for what we believe in, or pursuing what we truly want? Isn't it more frightening to live a life where we are constantly pretending, trying to fit into molds that don't belong to us? And let's not forget the fear of change. Change is an inevitable part of life, yet we often resist it, fearing the unknown, the uncertainty. But is it the change we should fear, or the inability to adapt, to grow with the changing circumstances? Isn't it more terrifying to remain stuck in the past while the world moves forward? The point here isn't to dismiss these fears as invalid. They are very real, and they can be very powerful. But Plato's wisdom encourages us to question these fears, to understand them, and to assess whether they truly deserve our fear. It's about making a conscious choice about what we allow to govern our actions and our lives. And in this understanding, we find courage. The courage to fail, learn, and grow. The courage to be true to ourselves despite the risk of rejection. The courage to embrace change and the opportunities it brings. So when we talk about courage, it's not just about being brave in the face of danger. It's not about the absence of fear. It's about understanding fear, discerning what's truly worth fearing, and then armed with this knowledge, moving forward. So, courage isn't just about facing fears, but discerning what truly deserves our fear. What would you do if you had all the power in the world? Quite an intriguing question, isn't it? It's an age-old question that has tested the character of many throughout history. In fact, Plato, through his mentor Socrates, addressed this very concept, saying, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." But what does this truly mean? In essence, this statement is a profound commentary on human character. It suggests that power, in itself, is neither good nor bad. It's a tool, a resource. What matters is how we choose to wield it. A man's true character is revealed not by the power he holds, but by what he does with it. Power can be likened to a mirror, reflecting the deepest and most intimate parts of our character. When a person gains power, their actions become magnified. Their decisions, their choices, their values, all become more visible and significant. This is why power can be a test, a measure of a person's character. It unveils what is hidden in the heart, revealing the true essence of the individual. The misuse of power is a tale as old as time. From the ancient empires to the modern corporations and governments, history is littered with examples of power wielded without integrity or respect for others. Power used for personal gain, for control, for domination, rather than for the greater good. This misuse of power often leads to corruption, inequality, and suffering. But power doesn't have to be a destructive force. It can also be a catalyst for positive change. Leaders who use their power ethically and responsibly can transform societies, uplift communities, and create a better world. They understand that power is not just about authority, but also about responsibility. It's not about ruling, but about serving. Think of the greatest leaders in history, those who have left a positive and lasting impact on the world. They are often the ones who understood the true measure of power. They knew that power was not a means to an end, but a tool to serve, to create, and to inspire. They understood that the true measure of a man is not in how much power he has, but in how he uses that power. So as we navigate through our lives, let's remember Plato's words. Whether we are leaders in our communities, in our workplaces, or even just in our own homes, we all have some degree of power. Let's strive to use that power not for self-serving purposes, but to uplift, to empower, and to serve. Because in the end, power is not about control, but about character. It's not about dominance, but about dignity. And the true measure of a man is not in the power he holds, but in how he chooses to wield that power. So power doesn't just reveal a person's strength, but also their character. As we draw to the end, it's time to reflect on what we've learned. We began our journey by delving into the depths of wisdom in speech. Plato, through Socrates, taught us that wise individuals speak because they have something of value to share. In contrast, those who speak merely to fill the silence often lack substance in their words. In our fast-paced world, bombarded by a cacophony of voices, this wisdom serves as a reminder to pause, listen, and speak only when our words can enrich the conversation. Next, we explored the transformative power of love. Plato believed that love could inspire even the most prosaic among us to become poets. Love, in all its forms, has the potential to awaken our creativity and fill our hearts with profound emotions, often finding expression in poetry, art, and music. It's a timeless truth that resonates even in our digital age, where expressions of love continue to inspire and move us. We then navigated the complex terrain of justice. According to Plato, justice is about minding one's own business and not interfering with others' affairs. This philosophy encourages respect for personal boundaries and individual autonomy, principles that are more relevant than ever in our interconnected world. Our journey continued with an exploration of courage. Plato suggested that true courage lies in discerning what to fear and what to disregard. This wisdom can empower us to face our fears, make brave choices, and live authentically, even amidst the uncertainties of our times. Finally, we examined the measure of power. Plato asserted that a person's true character is revealed in how they wield power. It's a potent reminder that power should be exercised with responsibility and compassion, not for domination or exploitation. So, as you go about your day, Remember these wise words from Plato and see how they can guide you in navigating our modern world.